Chapter 16. Tea with Pomp and Jay. Morningstar Castle was abustle with servants preparing for the winter solstice. Tulip had decided, quite at the last moment, that they would go on with the festival as usual, even with her mother and father away. Nanny thought it was good to have something to occupy Tulip while she and Flance handled the Circe situation, though she was now having second thoughts about her decision to keep Tulip at court rather than insisting she accompany her mother on the visit to her sister's kingdom, especially now that the odd sisters were swooping down, quite literally, at any moment upon Morningstar Castle. Nanny was looking out the window, hoping to spy the odd sisters, when she remembered she had promised Tulip it would snow for the solstice. With a casual wave of Nanny's hand, light, powdery snowflakes started to fall from the sky. Tulip would have her snow, and she would be occupied with receiving Prince Pompinjay for tea that day. That was the real reason Nanny had decided to let Tulip stay. She wanted to give the two a chance to spend some time together, a chance to fall in love. Prince Poppinjay arrived at the castle for afternoon tea looking rather dashing. Fortunately, he seemed to have left his lute at home and had no mind to sing tunes of Tulip's beauty during their tea. Mr. Hudson showed the young man in, directing him past the maids and footmen, readying the castle for the winter solstice, to the morning room where Tulip was waiting for him. Prince Poppinjay is here to see you, Princess. Thank you, Hudson. Can you please have Violet bring the tea? Yes, right away, Princess. Tulip motioned to the pink satin divan, inviting him to take a seat. Please. She perched next to him, hardly knowing what to say. She had always been terrible at that sort of thing, making small talk. Small talk always seemed, well, small. Empty little diversions with chatter about the weather, platitudes to pass the time. But that was what ladies were expected to speak of, not of the giants that ruled the lands hundreds of years before, or the wars they fought with Oberon and the tree lords of the north. Those, however, were the things that inspired her, truly fascinated her, and she wanted to know what inspired him. Violet fortunately came into the room with the tea, which further delayed Tulip's having to make conversation. Thank you, Violet. You can place it there. Violet set the tea tray on the round table before them with a slight clatter. I'm so sorry, Princess. Tulip didn't mind if those cups became chipped. In fact, she liked to toss them into the sea. It was her least favorite set because its pink flower pattern reminded her of the Beast Prince. She would have to remember to have Violet set out the black and silver set the next day for the solstice. Not to worry, Violet, that will be all. I will pour. With slightly trembling hands, Tulip poured some tea for the prince. How do you take it? She asked. With cream and sugar, please, my lady, croaked Prince Pompinjay. She handed him the cup, set upon the matching saucer, willing her hands not to shake and herself to say something. Anything. My mother was sorry she couldn't be here to receive you. She is away visiting her sister, Queen Leah. Prince Poppinjay was staring at the contents of his cup, too bashful to meet Tulip's gaze and too afraid to speak, should his voice crack again. It seemed Tulip wasn't alone in her nervousness or distaste for small talk. She suffered much sorrow, my aunt. I'm sure you've heard what's happened to her daughter. Popinjay looked up from the exceedingly interesting contents of his teacup and bravely met Tulip's gaze. I was very sorry to hear about your cousin. And he continued, though I am very pleased you invited me today, Tulip. I was rather surprised when you did. Tulip's face flushed, making her feel uncomfortable. She wanted to run away. He's just a prince. Don't be ridiculous, she told herself. She wanted to be anywhere but there, far away from the prince, with his beautiful, haunting gray eyes, in a place where there were no princes at all. Surely there had to be such a place, where there was no reason to make idle small talk about the goings on in neighboring kingdoms. I was reading about the history of your kingdom and its lands, and I found it very fascinating. Did you know there was a great battle fought here? With a smile, she asked, which one? There were several. Oh, I'm particularly intrigued by the battle between the tree lords and the giants, but they're all so compelling, don't you think? And suddenly, Tulip didn't feel the need to flee. In fact, there wasn't a single place in all the kingdom she'd rather be than with the handsome prince with the haunting gray eyes.